down, my boy. It's locked, all right.
The life running in your veins.
Daily
This dead flesh needs it.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet, with all the money and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin colour that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Pepper Doctor, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes? Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins, but are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke, but we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. It's locked, all right.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
With anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time. You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Waverley, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
I really hope you're right about this, Dr. Ackroyd. I'm trusting your judgment on this.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Don't waste your time with me. Good evening, sir.
Blaming me will not further your agenda, sir.
How long will it take to fix me properly? A month? A year?
You have the right to disapprove of our methods, and you will kindly apologize when you're feeling better.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
My sweet girl. Reads me like a book. I never could keep anything from her.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
That's Pembroke nowadays.
Fear and disgust on every street corner.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Damn. The pain. It's here again.
It's locked.
So many deaths.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
You're a vampire.
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of pustulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul. Or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
Oh, such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
Oh, such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities. It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right.
Very angry about this unfair situation. I managed to arrange to have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
See you again. I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate. It's locked, all right.
About this unfair situation. I
cannot enter.
The same mass grave as your... I hope that might happen.
The suffering continues. I wish I could be fixing it.
It's locked, all right. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Hey, Doc.
How long do you think you can escape the law, Clay?
I know this city like the back of my hand, Doc. I know its streets, who to pay, who to avoid, and who to bully. I won't get caught.
The police may be slow, but they will find you eventually.
Well, how come you didn't turn me in then? Nah, Doc, I figure you have something to hide so you can't ask the coppers for help.
How long do you think you can escape the law, Clay?
I know this city like the back of my hand, Doc. I know its streets, who to pay, who to avoid, and who to bully. I won't get caught.
The police may be slow, but they will find you eventually.
Well, how come you didn't turn me in then? Nah, Doc, I figure you have something to hide so you can't ask the coppers for help.
I'll leave you for now, Mr. Cox. Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Goodbye, Nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Never seen so many people die.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Nurse Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office down again.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Nurse Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
Goodbye, Dr. Tibbets.
I'm sorry.
I cannot enter.
Plain and cold medical bench, sir. I understand you must be very angry about this unfair situation. I managed to arrange to have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife.
It's locked, all right. Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful. Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a pleasure to see you again.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof! No soul anymore. All gone.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
A funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is, we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you need medical attention?
I'm feeling all right, Doctor. But perhaps it is because I, too, am used to the smell of the dead.
Do you need medical attention?
I'm feeling all right, Doctor. But perhaps it is because I, too, am used to the smell of the dead.
Goodbye, Mr. Chidana.
Hey, Doc.
You're lucky to be alive, Mr. Cox. I hope you're starting to take better care of yourself.
This place is full of sickness and decay. How could I get better in such a dump?
I will see you later. You're lucky to be alive, Mr. Cox. I hope you're starting to take better care of yourself.
This place is full of sickness and decay. How could I get better in such a dump? Killed, extorted, stole. Now I die. Fuck it. I live the way I wanted.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking.
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all. While I'm busted on the outside. But she's still beautiful. Living proof that there's hope for me.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of me blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patients.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she's a vampire.
In her madness, she never refers to my scars. And frankly, if I could, I'd join her world It seems much more fun than the real one.
Don't worry, sir. Everything's going to be fine. I'm just going to go and get
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood. Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed. So this is how it ends. Farewell, my life, you betrayed me, good.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I need.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
I wish I could be sick again.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I need.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
I wonder what your last thoughts would be, sir.
Hello again, Dr. Reed. I feel better already. Can I go soon?
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
I wish I could be sick again.
Doctor.
Yes, Doctor?
My sweet girl.
That's all for now, Nurse Crane. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Is there anything else that's bothering you? Can I help in any way?
I'm all right. Considering the state of this place, I should consider myself lucky, I guess.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation? All I wanted was to go back to work, to take care of my children.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a pleasure to see you.
Do you need medical attention?
I'm feeling all right, Doctor. But perhaps it is because I, too, am used to the smell of the dead.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful.
It's locked.
I'm sorry you ended up.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
You don't have to worry about me, Dr. Reed. I am here to assist you, not to be a burden.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Do you need my assistance?
Not at all. I'm sure that you are used to gaining people's trust with your impressive skills. Well, it will not be the case with me.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Yes, Doctor?
That's all for now, Nurse Crane. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
I will see you later. I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
Do you require medical attention as well, Mrs. Goswick?
I have other concerns right now, Doctor. But I'm fine, thank you.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Good evening, sir.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
At least that mistress of the dark.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Do you require medical assistance, nurse?
Thank you for your concern, but I'm fine.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance. It's locked, all right. Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I need.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the... to your nocturnal activities. I cannot enter.
Not now.
Hello again, Dr. Reed. I feel better already. Can I go soon?
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Yes, Doctor?
That's all for now, Nurse Crane, thank you. It's locked, all right. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
Have you seen any suspicious activity in the vicinity, Dr. Reed?
No more than usual.
This is no laughing matter, Dr. Reed. A patient of mine has been murdered. Mr. Fiddick is dead. I should have been more cautious.
Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
I would have been confused if anyone other than you had asked that question, Dr. Reed. But your help is welcomed.
There is no shame in helping each other. We're colleagues, after all.
Many doctors I have known are too cynical to think that way.
Why are you blaming yourself for the death of Mr. Fiddick?
It is our fault. Mr. Fiddick has stayed longer than needed here because Dr. Ackroyd and I could not agree on the correct treatment.
This argument has nothing to do with his death. He was murdered.
But if we had performed the surgery sooner, he would have left the hospital and avoided this fate.
What is troubling you so much, Dr. Strickland? Is there something else?
I had to meet face to face with the son and daughter of Mr. Fiddick this afternoon. Their eyes. I could barely stand before their accusing gaze.
This difficult task is part of our job, Dr. Strickland. It's our responsibility.
I know. As I also know they'll never get the answer to the question they daren't ask. They were the embodiment of cold fatalism.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland. Good evening, Dr. Ackroyd.
You're the last person that I want to see right now, Dr. Reed.
I see that you are as friendly as ever.
Are you really going to ask me why? That would just be more evidence of your selfishness.
Do you need my assistance?
Don't be ridiculous. I'm capable of dealing with this myself. I've just not taken the time to do so.
I will see you later. How do you think these recent events will affect the Pembroke Hospital?
I am not blind. There is something strange about you and Dr. Swansea. One day you'll have to provide answers.
Don't you think the epidemic is enough to deal with, without wasting time on insults and suspicions?
Yes, the epidemic. Convenient, isn't it? Just like the war, really. Hundreds are already dying, so who cares about one more?
You are troubled by the death of your patient. I understand. It is something that haunts everybody in our profession.
Harvey Fiddick died inside these walls, under our watch. We failed him, all of us.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Yes, Doctor?
That's all for now, Nurse Crane. Thank you. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything, and it's getting worse every day.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital? That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
You do realize you could both get fired? Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples, just like you, come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other, and that's all that matters.
Do you need any medical help, Milton?
I'm fine, Doc. Physically, at least. But I would give everything to be in a better place right now.
Goodbye, Milton.
Perhaps I should have considered the offer from that Cadogan fellow.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Goodbye, Nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
This hospital
waste your
seems to
time
be
with
falling
me.
apart. But good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Do you require medical attention as well, Mrs. Goswick?
I have other concerns right now, Doctor. But I'm fine, thank you.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick. Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured, you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
I will see you later. I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.